Do-do-do-do, it's Chemdork.
Hello everyone, this is Chemdork, and welcome to episode number 44 of Season 2 of My Buildcraft, a series where we play Minecraft with the mods Buildcraft, Thermal Expansion, and Forestry installed. Well guys, welcome back. We're back in the base. We're in the basement area looking at the dilapidated remains of the power system. Yeah, well, we a few episodes ago had updated to Minecraft 1.7.10 and subsequently updated all the mods as well. And Thermal Expansion, well, in that update, it removed the energy conduits and energy cells from the core mod with the information that stuff will be in a separate mod later, or it might be in Redstone Arsenal now. I'm not really positive about that. But anyways, since I don't want to install another mod, and I haven't gotten around to it, we've been basically without power in this base for quite a while. So today we're going to change that. We're going to actually build a system of power, and step one is going to be removing these compression dynamos. These are from Thermal Expansion because we're building a completely new power system, going back to what we had initially in this world, which was a Buildcraft power type system. It's going to be running off of combustion engines from Buildcraft because they look cool, it's fun, and it builds a little bit of a challenge. So I can probably use the dynamos to generate energy, but I'm gonna be generating it with the Buildcraft engines, and the reason why is because, like I said, there's some challenge, and I want to try out kind of an idea that I have for a power system that I think you guys will like. So in this episode, we're gonna set up kind of the basics for how it's gonna work, and build in details later. So the setup is gonna be forward-thinking in terms of needing to add on to it some key components. So this room right here is going to be for setting up some of the redstone for it. And it's positioned over here because over kind of above this area over here is another room that I'm going to use, and we're actually going to have something of a control room for this power area. Another person mentioned a few episodes ago in the comments that they kind of missed last episode, or maybe it was a message, but anyways, they missed last season how I had this sort of control room, and I said there's really no reason for it. Well, actually, I have a very good reason for it, and that is the power system that I want to build. We're going to need a control room of sorts, so we're going to need a place to read out all the power levels and the information on what's on, what's off, and what we can turn on and turn off, and yada yada yada. So anyway, I put together this really simple control room. This used to be what controlled the quarry down there. It's going to control now the power system overall. I'm going to have an area to read out some of the current status of the power system, and be able to turn off and on certain things from my base, right in this one location. So I'm thinking this wall right here, I'm going to use to basically turn off and on individual systems within my base. This wall right here is what we're going to be working on today. It's the sort of the basics of the power system and the basic workings of the power system. And this wall right here is going to be eventually a readout of the current power in the system. So pretty cool. The basics of the power system is that these four buttons right here, they're going to be used by this wall to automate things a little more for me. But basically the idea is I need these four elements in this system in order for it to work. And one is to be able to turn it all on, all off, increase the power completely, or increase the power by an increment, and decrease the power by an increment. And I'm going to explain a little more about this in just a second, but yeah, so in just a second I'm going to explain a little bit more about this. Let's go to a creative world where I'm going to explain kind of how the system's going to work, and then we'll come back and we'll start building. Okay, so see you in a minute. So, before I talk about the power system that we're going to build, I'm going to show you guys a power system that you could build. Now, in our power plant system, we will be using actually some of these features later on. I'll be building it in later on to a part of our base, but for now, we're not going to be using this system, but just to show you guys a nice, easy way in which you can use Thermal Expansion and Buildcraft together to make a power system, here's an example. And basically, you'll notice it's essentially what we had before, which is to say energy cells supplying a buffer of system, using energy, the dynamos to supply power, and essentially the kinesis pipes are just standing in for energy conduits. Real simple. So it'll work basically the same way, but it does show off a feature or a few features that I do want to talk about. First of all, the energy cells, I was incorrect in saying that they weren't a part of thermal expansion. They actually are. They're part of the thermal expansion core mod still. The things that are missing are the energy conduits and the ducts. So that is the item ducts and fluid ducts. So anyway, this is a full energy cell, so it's full. There's no way to add power, so even though these energy dynamos are on, they're not supplying power because they don't need to do it. And that's a nice feature of thermal expansion, but again, we'll have to get around that in terms of building our Buildcraft Only system. But it does show off a feature here I want to show, which is on this kinesis pipe we have a gate with a trigger, and this is a power requested trigger. Basically it's showing that it's false because there's no way we can add power to this. It already has power. If I supply this with an empty cell, now we see that that is power requested is true. The power is flowing now because the dynamos turn on, and this starts filling up with power. Great. And then it also shows that you can output power to things using kinesis pipes. You just need a wooden kinesis pipe, and you do need it. And then can transfer out to these other kinesis pipes. So there you go. There goes the energy. Great. Anyway, so in what we're going to show you now, though, is the Buildcraft system we are going to build. And why am I going to do this? Well, again, the series is called My Buildcraft, so I think we should do things a little more with Buildcraft alone, and this is kind of a challenge because it's difficult to build a power system that only uses Buildcraft. So because of the difficulty, because of the fact that the series is based on My Buildcraft, so it's Buildcraft based, and also the fact that we can do a little more with this power system in terms of output, reading things, and just kind of a little more finesse. I'm going to use this. But we have to build in some of the control that's lacking in the system when you just use Buildcraft. Two features I want to have is a dimmer switch of sorts, because we're going to use a common bank of engines to power everything. So that is, even if we have multiple parts of my base that need to be powered or unpowered at any given time, I want to use the same engines to power it. And secondly, I need to have a way of dimming, like a dimmer switch, if you will. So I want to maybe sometimes only have a few engines on, sometimes I need all of them on. And that's going to depend on what I need to supply power to. And each part of my base is going to need a different number of engines to supply power to that. So we have to have a way of controlling what we're going to turn on at any given point in time. Maybe I'll need 3 engines for one part of my base. Maybe I need to power 5 engines for another part of my base. If both of them need to be on, I need to then supply power to 8 engines. If only one needs to be on, then it's either going to be 5 or 3. So I need to kind of build in that smart functionality, and we're going to do that. Secondly, we're going to use these kinesis pipes, these emerald kinesis pipes, you can see here, this green one, because you can do things like actually function as a switch. So they allow you to have these trigger actions. These triggered actions be closed or open, closed being, of course, no power flows through, which is what's happening now. It's off. And open would be when power can flow through. So right now, if I turn on the system, power won't go to the quarry, but it'll go to the magma crucible. And how do you turn on the system? Well, we're going to dim it. We're going to use the dimmer switch functionality, which is real simple. We're just going to use a comparator next to an inventory. And how this comparator works is that it will output, or at least a feature of a comparator, is that when it's next to an inventory like this, it outputs a redstone signal equivalent to how full this inventory is. So this is empty, so there's no power signal. If this was completely full, it would output a signal strength of 15, so the maximum. If it's half full, it'll output a signal strength of half of that. So anyway, if we just add in a few items here, you see it starts to turn on. As we add more items, more engines will start to turn on, and we're going to use this whole concept for deciding how many engines are going to be on. And as you notice, no power is being transferred to the quarry. It's not on, and that's because this isn't turned on. So when we do that, now it turns on, the quarry gets some power, and it goes to town. Go ahead, quarry. Yay. So that's how it's going to work, basically. So let's go ahead and start building, because I've wasted enough time. Let's go ahead and do stuff. Alright, see you in just a second. Okay, we are ready to build. And the first step in the building process is to build our engines and place them where we're going to put them. So we've done basically systems like this before. We're going to be modifying it slightly. Here is the redstone line that's going to be powering, that's going to be connected to this redstone comparator. And our inventory is going to go right here. Our inventory will be a filtered buffer because, well, it's from Buildcraft. It has 9 slots of inventory. So we're going to use that. And now what I'm going to do is set up the aqueous accumulators and water. So I'll do that. I'll be right back. Okay, did that, and now it's time to, well, I need a line of blocks here. This is going to be on which the repeaters are going to sit. So if you notice, we're doing these a little bit different than we normally would. I'm just going to do one side, and then we'll do the other. And basically what we're going to need is, again, 1 aqueous accumulator per engine. And yes, I know I'm using aqueous accumulators, even though I keep saying that I'm doing Buildcraft only. Whatever, we're also using some other machines. Just don't judge. But basically we're going to have 1 aqueous accumulator per engine, and the engines are going to sit above these guys. And each one's going to be getting a pipe here. I don't want them to mix because I want them to individually feed their own engines. So yeah, we're going to do it just like this. Come on. There we go. Okay. So this should be enough to cool down everything, and then the repeaters can power the engines when they want to. All right. And then I'll be doing basically the same thing to the other side. So I'll be right back after that's done. Alright, now that that is done and everybody here has power and is getting water, let's go ahead and connect the kinesis pipes. So I'll do that and be right back. Well, the easy part is done. So that's just setting up the engines. This is where they go. They're going to function. It's going to be fine. Now let's go to something a little more complicated and I think a little more interesting, and that is how are we going to decide how many of these engines to power at once. And as I indicated before, we're going to do that with this comparator next to an inventory. In this case, I've switched from the filtered buffer to a dispenser because the filtered buffer actually doesn't work with this comparator, strangely. Dispenser works fine, filter buffer doesn't do the same thing. I suppose it just functions a little bit differently than most inventories, and that's why. But anyway, now our choice is what kind of item are we going to fill up into this dispenser? And we have basically 3 options. In one case, we can just use stacks of 64 items, such as a cobblestone, for example. The problem is that if we need to fill up this dispenser, we have to fill up a lot of items. Now, it offers us a lot of control, so as you see, we need a bunch of items, but eventually, hold on, come on, there we go, finally. We need to fill up something like 40 items almost to just get past the first signal. So this means that we have to transfer a lot of items in order to get our signaling, which is something I don't want to do. Oh, I have the backpack on. Anyway, so that's really kind of out of the question. It's going to take too long to power up our system. The other option is to use something like a water bucket, or something that only stacks with 1 item per inventory slot. The problem here is that while it's quick to fill up, it doesn't offer any control, because as you see, if I add 1 item, it actually powers more than just 2 engines at a time. So that doesn't offer us any control over the amount of power. So something in between is a snowball. It's 16 items per stack, and that's going to be reasonable in terms of transferring it. If I want to fill up this entire dispenser, it's 144 items. If I want to power all of my engines, it's going to be 80 items. And the reason why I know that is because we do some math, and you can actually figure it out. It works out pretty well to be 10 items per signal. So up to 10, it gives you 1 signal. As soon as I add the 11th, you'll see now it's powering 2. If I add up to 20, it's still 2. If I add the 21st, now it's 3. So if I want to power, say, for example, 8 engines, that's 4 of these signals, because they're in pairs. So that means 10, 20, 30. I need at least 31 items, but let's just add 40. So we need to have a way of transferring 10 items at a time to have the sort of minimal amount of control, or increment by 2 engines. So where are we going to transfer items to and from? Well, we're going to be transferring items to this, which I'll call the power inventory. But these snowballs have to come from somewhere, and they're going to be connected to another inventory that we're going to be using to ferry items back and forth between these 2. So we'll basically be setting it up with wooden pipes and maybe some pipes in between. Now the question is, how far apart should these be? because we want the transfer to be as quick as possible. And so to answer that question, we are going to go to the creative world and do some experiments. So join me there. Let us do some science. It is time for science! Okay guys, time to do an experiment. So in this experiment, we're going to be trying to determine the optimal placement of our two chests, or our two inventories, such that the transfer of an item from one to another takes the shortest amount of time. So I have these pairs of chests set up here. I'm going to be sending an item from this one to go into these chests. And once an item reaches these chests, this gate is going to basically turn off this torch. And I have a redstone signal going to these guys, and it'll send out a single item. And so basically, I turn on this lever, and these two chests will send out an item. And the torch that goes off first is the one that wins. So let's go ahead and do it. Okay, so I'll send out an item. So both of these chests have an item coming out. And we'll see, actually, the winner by a large margin is this guy. So with, this is 2 lengths of gold pipe in between is actually the best compared to this one with only 1. Alright, that's good to know. So we'll take the item out of here. And now let's do it again, except we'll do these 2. So what about 3? Does 3 give you better or worse? So now let's try it again. Once again, we're looking at these 2 torches now. And actually, this one still wins by a shorter margin, but it still wins. So actually, the most optimal placement is a wooden pipe, 2 golden pipes, and then if we want to go back and forth, we need another wooden pipe here. So that's actually the most optimal distance between the 2. Let's go ahead and use that information now and position our chests back in the world. Okay, well, that was fun. So we did some science and we figured out that this is the optimal setup. It's a wooden pipe and 2 golden pipes in between is going to be the best for us to transfer items the quickest between these 2 chests. So now I'm going to set up these gates here. I have them set up as redstone signal on as the trigger for energy pulsar. So it's going to transfer, in this case, snowballs from one to another. So if I want to add power to the system, say I want to add 2 engines of power to the system, that means I'll need to transfer 10 snowballs from here to there. So I'll need to send a pulse with a length of time that is enough to add 10 snowballs, or transfer 10 snowballs. I don't know the length of that pulse, so we're going to have to do some science to figure that one out too. But before we do, just to kind of give you an idea of how this is going to work, the 4 buttons that we talked about, one was turning the whole system completely on, and one was turning the whole system completely off. Basically, those are pretty easy. We just need to have a length of time. We'll send a signal to this for the length of time that'll transfer all the snowballs here into here. So it'll just be a long pulse. So the one we have to really figure out is that incremental one. So likewise, turning it off, it'll do the same thing. It's a length of time that can transfer an entire dispenser's worth of snowballs out of here into this chest. So that's easier to figure out. The one that's harder to figure out is how do you figure out the optimal time for sending 10 snowballs? So let's once again go to the creative world and do another experiment. Okay, let's do another experiment. This time we're trying to figure out how long of a pulse do we need in order to transfer 10 of these snowballs into here. So we're going to be sending a redstone signal to this gate, which is going to pulse out items. So let's try this first with just a button press. So simple button press, let's see how many items are transferred. In this case, 2 snowballs. So that's not enough at all. So we need to lengthen that pulse, and the way in which we can do that is set up a circuit. And the redstone circuit we're going to use is, it's a monostable circuit, basically. The reason why it's called that is, well, I don't know. But anyways, it basically functions as, it's easy to make. It's an RS NOR latch, which is one of our favorite circuits because it's so darn useful. So it's an RS NOR latch that self-resets. So that means that when you power this side is on, when that side is off, and then it's just going to have a delay from here to over here. And what I mean by that is if we put a few redstone repeaters in between, we'll do it this way instead. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, I don't know, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so 6 repeaters in between. That should lengthen our signal quite a bit. So let's see now how many are transferred. So when we do this, you see it stays on for a while and then shuts off. It looks like 4 or 5? 5 are transferred. Oh, perfect. Okay, so it looks like we actually need 12 repeaters in order to get 10 items to be transferred. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need to add 6 more repeaters to the sequence. So there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, that works. Oh, okay. So this should actually transfer 10 items, if I am correct. We should be left with 6 snowballs right here. Okay, let's try it out. So there it is. It delays. Snowballs are coming out, and now it shuts off. And now we see how many are transferred. Oh, 9 it looks like. So, okay, let's see if that is in fact repeatable. Let's do that here. Because I'm expecting there might actually be some sort of inaccuracy here, because redstone delays are notoriously not great. So 9 once again. Okay, so it looks like we need just a little bit more. Oh, yeah, we need just a little bit more. 9 snowballs are transferred. So that's maybe another repeater. Let's try one more repeater in here. Darn it, I can't really fit one very easily. I think, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, so 12, 13? Does that work out? Yeah, okay, that's one more. Alright, so let's try that now. There's nothing in here yet. Okay. Okay, the March of Snowballs enters into here, in which case we see that, oh, that's, wait, that's 11. Okay, so that's a little bit too much. So we'll just kind of, we just need a little bit, so that's like half. And, alright, we'll do it this way. Do that again, take these out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, 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 blah. Yada, yada, yada. Looks like 10. Looks like 10. I know it's 10. Come on, it has to be 10. Hey, it's 10. Okay, cool. So that's our delay. That's our delay for the incremental increase or decrease in power. And that is every 10 we get one more unit of energy on that signal sent. And for transferring all of the items from here into here or out of here into here, we're going to need a longer pulse, much longer. But we can do that with a different type of timer. Okay, so I'll be right back. Let's go back to the world and set up, start setting this stuff up. Okay, before we go back into the world, the thought has actually just occurred to me. There is now, the way gates operate on pipes, you can actually put more than one. So I was wondering, we have 1. If I put 2 here, do we actually get double the amount of the items transferred? So we have 32 here. So let's try this now with 2 of these. Not sure. It kind of looks like there's more. Yeah, there's definitely more that are being transferred. So let's say if it's double, then it should be 20. 19. So it looks like there's actually a little bit of error here, but yeah, it's like double. Basically, it is double. So let's, I'm going to try that one more time and see what happens. Just one more time. Let's check it out. Okay, so that was 19. Let's see. Let's see if this is going to work the same way. Wow, that's pretty cool. So we can actually do probably half the repeating sequence. So we can take half the time to transfer up. It's 20 that time. So cool. Yeah, we should actually be able to do this with 6, like before. So wait, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Was that it? Yeah, that was it. Okay, so let's do that. Yeah. Okay, let's try that. Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Let's see if 10 transfer now. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so 6 repeaters is all we need. Sweet. Okay, that's actually pretty cool. We're going to do that. This is going to actually increase the speed of transfer by, well, it's going to take half the time. So that's great. All right, I'll see you back in the world. Okay, so one of the first steps we need to do is, before we do much down there, we're going to have to run some signals from these buttons downstairs. So again, we have full power, which means turn everything on, means transfer for us. Now that we know what this means transfer all the items from the one chest into the power chest. Power off means transfer all the items out of that power inventory back into the chest. Decrease power means transfer 10 items from the power inventory back into the chest. Increase power means transfer 10 items from the supply inventory into the power inventory, so that dispenser. Okay, so I'm just setting up some wiring. I've done this before, where each one of these is sending a redstone signal. When it gets a redstone signal, so when the button is pressed, it'll send a blue pipe signal, or a green pipe signal, red pipe signal, yellow pipe signal. And I kind of give myself a little cheat sheet here, just so I would remember. So I'm going to continue to run that down there, and that will be our signals that we'll be using to indicate what to do. Okay, so I'll be right back. See you in a second. Okay, it is time to actually do some wiring now. So right now in this episode, since there's not much time left, we're just going to set up the one button, actually the two buttons, one to add 10 items, one to remove 10 items. So I did what we were just talking about, which was these double gate systems. So we're going to need half the pulse. So we're only going to need 6 repeaters in our monostable circuit. We will set up the timer for doing that probably over here in this area, so I'll do that. But I just want to explain a little bit about, well actually, you know what, I'll do that first, and then I'll explain a little bit about how the wiring for this whole system is going to work, because it'll allow me to do things in a modular fashion. So it'll allow a lot of ability for me to build up the system in the future. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll explain in just a minute. Be right back. Well, there it is, the monostable circuit with 6 repeaters. This should give us a pulse length that is long enough to send or remove 10 items from the chest, just as long as we are using 2 alt-archic gates for doing so. So let's go ahead and try it out. Now, we are not going to actually have enough time to set up properly the redstone for this. So we're just going to set up a test situation just to make sure what we did in creative actually holds true here. So hopefully we'll be removing 10 items at a time. So let's go ahead and try it out. So once again, the monostable circuit is guaranteed to hold this in this condition for a certain amount of time. It should be consistent. We'll see just how consistent it is. It was pretty consistent in creative, so that was good. That was 10 items. In case you're wondering, you can't do math. There you go, 10 items. So let's see if the second holds true. So again, it should be the same amount of time in terms of the pulse. Hopefully it sent out the same, the correct number of items. In this case, this is actually 18 items, so it was sent out only 8. So there's a little bit of inconsistency there. That's actually okay for our system as long as it's fairly consistent. It's not really a big deal if it every now and then doesn't send the correct amount. Okay, this is now 28, so that sent 10. That's perfectly fine. Let's send one more round, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see how many items were transferred. Here we go. Alright, so that's the 4th. It's sending 4. That's 32... 37? Huh. Okay, so it only sent 9 that time, I think. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. Alright, that's not too bad. You know what, that's actually consistent enough. It's 10, 10, 8, and 9. That's an average, basically, of around 10 or 9. So that's actually okay for our system. And if we want to remove items, it's just a matter of doing this and then powering it. So that was something, I don't remember, but yeah, so it's pulling out the right items, and we'll be setting up the circuitry for doing that kind of automatically and based on whatever signal we send down here. Okay, well that's awesome. I'm actually really excited for this system. It's working great. Another feature that I'll show you is that when we use comparators like this, we don't have to. Of course, the off button that we push is going to power down all of these. It's basically going to completely remove all items from this inventory. It's going to do that slowly though. If we want to do it quickly, what we can do is just power off the system by doing that. And what I basically did was send a redstone signal next to the comparator. So send it along the side of the comparator. When you do that, it stops outputting the signal this way as long as you have it in this mode where the front one is off. And then the cool part about that is that if it's essentially will save our configuration, because if we remove that power, it'll regain its status that it was originally. So that's pretty cool. And kind of an intended but kind of unintended feature of this, so it's pretty sweet. Alright guys, I think that'll do it for this episode. We will, in the next episode, like I said, get into redstone and use up this entire room for some awesome redstone experience. In the meantime, though, thank you for watching. I think this has been a nice return to the roots of ChemDork, or the original type of My Buildcraft Series 1, where we are using just My Buildcraft, since it's the name, it's just using Buildcraft for the purposes of doing our little Minecrafting. Now, again, yes, we are using aqueous accumulators, but the spirit of using just Buildcraft alone is there in this power system, and that's why I really like it. So, right, one more thing before we go. Ethanol. We spent about a bunch of time making it. We have a whole lot of it over here. The problem is going to be we are not going to be able to use it because apparently it does not actually work anymore in these combustion engines. That's sort of depressing. We might be using ethanol for another purpose, using maybe forestry engines or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, we'll find a use for it. It's all right. And anyway, thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next episode where we do a bunch of redstone, and I hope you are okay with that because that's what we're going to be doing. All right, take care, guys. We're gonna be having a lot of fun next episode. Okay, see you then. Bye bye now.